Ahoy! We have tons of information about mounts in New World already. The problem is, it's buried in a bunch of different articles, sometimes even in different languages. So I did some digging through various articles to find out everything we know about mounts so far. Sources are linked in the description. First off, how do you even get a mount? Mounts are unlocked through a quest line. Supposedly this quest line is very memorable if you're into the lore. This quest line teaches you the mechanics of riding, and it unlocks your first mount, and then you get future quest lines for more different mounts. There are currently 3 mount types, and all of the types can be earned. You don't need to buy the types themselves. The first type you get are the horses, which you get at level 25, and this quest line is in Everfall. The second quest line unlocks at level 45 and is for Direwolves, and at level 60 you get lions or felines. So how does the whole riding work? First of all, I think this is kind of important. Your mount gets summoned under you, so it can't spawn in awkward locations and you don't have to hop on it first. You can ride your mount almost anywhere, even in towns, but the highest mount speed is achieved when riding on roads. Towns also have quote-unquote speed limits, so you for example can't do any sprinting in towns. So yes, mounts can sprint. They have a dash that gives them a temporary speed boost. This dash comes with a cooldown, so you can't use it constantly. That said, even without sprinting, mounts are always faster than walking. According to at least one article, it also sounds like movement may work slightly differently while on a mount. So I wouldn't expect that you'll be able to do a quick, snappy 180 while you're sprinting on your mount. The only restriction in terms of usability that has been mentioned so far is that they won't be usable in wars. While I can understand that from a strategical perspective, I think that's rather unfortunate to hear, because I think riding up as an army would have been really cool in a war. If that also has any implications for other PvP modes like OPR or 3-3s remains to be seen. There could be benefits even in 3-3s in using a mount, so who knows. At least in the new territory influence races you should be able to use your mount, but keep in mind you cannot fight while on your mount. Mounts also seem to be associated with a new trade skill, that's what the devs said too, but the statements by the articles here are a little bit vague. Maybe they didn't actually get to look into that, or maybe it wasn't finished at the time, but it appears that it's likely a trade skill that can go up to 250. Some of the articles say that this allows you to make your mount faster or increases the speed of your mount somehow, and one article claims that you get more endurance boost through the trade skill. What the articles seem to agree more on is that the mounts will also have levels, and these levels, as far as I can tell, seem to be based on the type of the mount, so your horse and your wolf could have a different level. Supposedly this level also contributes to your mount's speed. The mount level can be increased with special food, specific quests, and quote-unquote small races. This race mechanic sounds pretty fun. You're not going to be racing against other players directly, but you will be racing against time. You have to hit certain checkpoints before a timer runs out in order to get to the next checkpoint until you complete the race. If you're too slow, you fail the race. When completing the race, you get rewards either in form of XP directly for your mount, or what one article called vittels, so some kind of treats for your mounts. As far as I can tell, the vittels may be what increases your mount's level. If well executed, I think these races could be really fun, and I really hope that there will be a leaderboard for the individual races, so you can actually compare yourself to others and try to get the best time. That would also be the perfect place to put some mount skins or accessories as a reward for being in the high places, like we have with the other leaderboards for player skins. And speaking of mount skins, there is a lot going on in the customization department. Mounts will have different cosmetics that you can unlock, changing the overall look of the mount from the breed of the horse to whether your lion is armored. Mounts can also have items equipped to them that increase speed or stamina, with vittles helping to boost this while on the go. So at least one of the uses of these vittles seem to be temporary boosts. It also appears like mounts within the same type may be able to have very different models. Look at these 2 horses side by side here. One looks like a chunky war horse, not only in terms of armor but also in terms of the legs and everything, while the horse on the right side looks significantly smaller and more agile in comparison. Keep in mind this is purely from visual observation here, I'm not 100% sure about this. It could be a mix of perspective as well as some optical distortion caused by the different armors. So I'm definitely not sure about this one, but it does kind of seem that way. That said, there are definitely also mounts within the same type that are just different colors. One article also mentions that dye can be used on mounts somehow. I would expect it's likely on the mount equipment. Mount skins are going to be account bound, so you can get them on all of your characters. No surprise there, since some of them will likely be from the cash shop eventually. Your mounts have their entire own gear tab and a variety of different slots. They have 2 perk slots for items with actual effects, 2 cosmetic slots, and then 4 consumable slots. We can see the effects of 3 different items so far, which are of different tiers, so I guess the higher the charm tier is, the better the effect or the stronger the effect. The first one boosts your encumbrance limit while mounted, and this version requires you to be riding level 60. I don't see much of a point in that unless you're going on an entirely unflagged farming run where you have to cover long distances between the resources that you want to collect, so you literally never walk, just hop on your mount, run around, pick something up, get back on your mount. It seems like an odd choice, so I'm not really sure if many people are going to be using this one. The next one, however, is Cleanse when force dismounted through combat. That, I think, is absolutely massive. Riding level required in this case is 50. I'm not really sure what would change if this was the legendary version, but either way, I can definitely see use cases for this when engaging as well, and that's why I was saying there is maybe some use for this in stuff like 3v3, if we are allowed to use it there, because imagine riding in and immediately cleansing the first hard CC that hits you, and kind of taking that away from the enemy. The third perk boosts your mount dash recharge rate, so you can dash more often. This one requires riding level 40. I think this is probably going to be a favorite of many people, unless there are other ones that are even better in terms of speed increase. When it comes to the decorative items, we can see that they seem to be tied to other activities. So for example, one of the decorative shields mentions something about fishing, another one mentions something about your faction, so I think that you will maybe get one from the faction shop, one from doing something while fishing, and so on and so on. So you can get resources, you can get little cosmetics in various ways while playing the game. We don't get to see anything about the consumable slots or why there are 4 of them, and these likely are the vittels. I don't know if they will be consumed immediately, if they're used once and then they're burned, and that's why you have 4 slots. That's something I could imagine. We'll have to find out. Another cool thing is that you can choose the name for your mount. You can rename it in-game. I'm not sure if and how it will be displayed to other players though, since as far as I can tell, you cannot dismount and have your mount walk next to you. Everything we've seen so far is just people riding the mount, so it wouldn't really make sense for the name to show up under your own. One article also mentions that more mount types in the future are already planned, so we can be excited for that. For the very lore inclined among you, you may know that technically it's not supposed to be possible to ride mounts on Eternum because they all are too wild and too feral, and apparently there will be a lore explanation for that in the expansion. The article from New World itself already mentioned that this is something to do with the arrival of the beast lords, so I guess we'll learn more about that. If you want to learn more about the expansion, for example the new war area that we'll be having, then consider subscribing and clicking the bell, because that is what we'll be talking about tomorrow. Also, in one of the corners you should see a playlist with all of the expansion videos I've made so far, so you can learn all the different details on what has changed. If you'd like to support me further and get early trading tips in return, posted yet another one today, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Thanks to all of my patrons who already do exactly that. And thank you for watching. Sloth, out.